one.
And
Go.
welcome to Big Blue Breakdown BBB on this beautiful Wednesday night. Changing things up a little bit. Got Matthew the Loud Man Cross hosting. Joined with me, as always, usually in the host chair, but this time sitting in the passenger seat. We got Michael Buckheister. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great, man. We are kind of switching things up. I'm kind of excited to be able to sit back and talk some Kentucky sports, man.
Absolutely. We're supposed to have Chris King of the Hill with us, but he's not. He's having some tech issues. He'll come and go as the show goes on and be oblivious, more so than usual. So we'll probably be talking Kentucky basketball. He's going to come in talking about some Doritos in true Chris Hill fashion. So just be prepared for that. It's going to be a wild show. Really up on the docket for tonight's show, we got the sad news, breaking news, Wandale Robinson decommits from Kentucky, going to Nebraska. We're going to follow that up. We're also going to talk about the UK committing, what else is in store for us, what that decommitment means. We're going to go into the big bowl game, biggest game probably in 20 years since the Tim Couch era. And then we're going to go into some Kentucky basketball. So let me get started. What I just said there, Mike, Wandale Robinson, just fresh off Mr. Kentucky football, committed to Kentucky, moved up to the top 100 as far as some of the recruits' eyes, and then out of nowhere, decommits and goes to Nebraska. What's your thoughts on this?
So my first thought was I was kind of bummed because we kind of need that high prolific wide receiver. You know, like I was hoping he could maybe open up the offense some. But like then I got to sit back and thinking, well, maybe it's a coaching staff thing because you know, like our offense has been kind of wrapped around Snail for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and you have AJ Rose that is going to fill that spot as well. So having a high profile wide receiver or even a high profile quarterback is going to be really tough if you don't have that high profile offense. Yes, we all like to win games, and currently when we pound the ball with Snell, we win games. You know, we won 9 games so far this season. Hopefully we'll win 10 versus Penn State here in a few weeks. But to get those high recruits like a top 100 wide receiver, we have to open up the offense at the end of the day.
My only part on that, Mike, and I get what you're saying. You know, when you think this Kentucky offense, the only person who really got any love was Benny Snell. But I don't think that's through lack of trying. Eddie Grand tried to do some things, and down the stretch he got Lynn Bowden going, and he had Terry Wilson going against some of these lesser teams we played down the stretch, Middle Tennessee State and Louisville's horrific defense. So that's the only thing. I mean, when he originally committed, one of his big statements was, they need me. Like he said that part when people was like, hey, why are you picking Kentucky? Kentucky said, Robinson said of Kentucky, they need me, and that is the fact, and it doesn't go any. It definitely does nothing but gets more true as we move into 2019. So that's one reason that kind of bums me. Like we talked about this last week, Mike. This Kentucky team's next year is going to be a higher. I'm not going to say we're up there with Oregon or those great offenses, but we're going to be a veteran offense with a young defense. I was really hoping on Robinson. Now, I will say, and it's going to segue into some future, talking about some of our future recruiting, Kentucky fans, we can't get upset about this. I mean, we've gotten – you want to talk frustrating, kids decommitting last minute and leaving home state. Let's look at basketball. I mean – Malik Monk was already set to go to Arkansas. Boom, finds himself at Kentucky. Terrence Jones, Washington. Boom, finds himself at Kentucky. Archie Goodwin, Arkansas. Boom, finds himself at Kentucky. Tyler Hero, Wisconsin. Boom, finds himself at Kentucky. So we've lived high on the hog just in another sport. And look, the only question I have here is what is it about Nebraska? Mike, you brought up a great point about it. Is it coaching? Because typically when we see this happen at UK, it's that they're decent. Kentucky recruits them, they commit, and then their senior year they develop into something amazing, and then Alabama comes and swoops them up. Texas comes and swoops them up. Georgia comes and swoops them up. Very seldom have I seen them leave us for a less tier team. Do you think that's all coaching, or do you think there was just something more to it?
I think the Cornhuskers are building something great over there with Scott Frost. Scott Frost played in an era where like he was the man at the Cornhuskers for what 3 or 4 years. Like I remember watching him play, and he ran that offense so amazing. He could put the ball in the air, he could run. They ran the option, and then he became a head coach at UCF, I do believe, and he led them to a undefeated season. And that turnaround there happened so fast. Like they kind of came out of, I mean, like they were like a struggling 4-17, 4-6 team, and then all of a sudden they're 13-0. Like what the heck happened? So I really feel like he thinks that's going to happen at Lincoln this year because the Cornhuskers are kind of coming on late. Like they came on late at the end of the season. I think they finished with 3 or 4 wins here. I mean, it was by far the worst that they've done in years, but it's a rebuilding process, and there has to be some type of promise there that he is going to get, like he is going to start this year. Maybe because we were starting to hear rumors about Mike or Stoops thinking about going to the Ohio State job, even though Ohio State has named their head coach. There are rumors starting to float around that Stoops is going to go to Ohio State. So maybe our recruits are hearing something like that as well, and like they don't want to take a chance of going to Kentucky and Stoops not being there.
I think the Stoops to Ohio State is just a bunch of noise. Like you said, they have their man in Ryan Day. I think Stoops likes this job where it's kind of heading. Now, obviously, I'm not comparing the two, but I don't think there's a whole lot of traction to Stoops to Ohio State. But I want to, and honestly, and just a little area to disagree on. I don't see Nebraska being world beaters anytime soon. But I think you brought up a good point there in kind of the middle. And I think Kentucky fans need to sit back and enjoy that because this is something that's not very common with the Wildcats. And that is there's a good chance Robinson looked at this offense and looked at this team in general and said, you guys are getting some pretty big names. You guys are returning some pretty big names. You guys are coming back with a junior Lynn Bowden, with a junior Terry Wilson, with a veteran offensive line. You mentioned A.J. Rose, with some defensive guys, with a Cash Daniels, and a very winnable season next year in the SEC. There's a lot of expectations, and there's a lot of different excitement going to be here. If I go to – you heard it yourself with Benny Snell in one of his interviews that when he chose Kentucky – and this is where I thought was ironic. When he chose Kentucky – he said he wanted to be the first step. He wanted to be one of the key concrete blocks in that building. Yes. And I think, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so thankful for it. Kentucky's getting to the point where we're almost established, Mike. We're almost there. Names now, say Robinson comes in and has a great career at Kentucky. He's going to be mentioned as a 3rd or 4th tier guy. When people think, remember when Kentucky turned it and became a football school, they're going to think Benny Snell. They're going to think Steven Johnson. They're going to think Josh Allen, Jordan Jones. It's going to take a little bit before you get to Robinson, where if he goes to Nebraska and puts up 1,000 yards receiving or has a Benny Snell type career, he's going to be given credit for the Nebraska turnaround. So I really think it does stink, and I hate it. But I think there's a lot of irony in it, and I think it's really a turning point for Kentucky when Mark. And we talked about this last show, Mike. This is very important for Mark Stoops because he now has to recruit, and he no longer has the underdog role. He can no longer he can no longer go to people's houses and guarantee starting positions. He can no longer sell, "Hey, we're 0-12, we're 2-10. Help us be great," because we're already right there. Now.
Well, if you don't mind, let me stop you there. And if you think about this, think about the conferences for example. Here, if he were to go to UK, he would have to play Georgia, Tennessee, and then play a Alabama or even a Auburn team in the SEC championship. If you look at the Big Ten, the only team in the Big Ten West, which the Cornhuskers are in, is a Northwestern team that they're kind of hit and miss. Yes, they had a 8-5 season, but that's kind of mediocre there. And the Huskers finished 4-8. So, they win a couple of those close games that they had versus Ohio State, versus Iowa. They are right there in the Big Ten championship game almost every year. And with Urban, he is no longer a coach at Ohio State now, and Jim Harbaugh being, talked about with, leaving Michigan and going to the Packers, that kind of leaves the Big Ten wide open. So if you are all about winning championships and winning games and making a name for yourself, Nebraska is kind of the school to go to right now, because they are right there on that crust. They have a great young coach. He's turning it around. I mean, so his third or fourth year, they could be talked about as Big Ten championships. You can almost pencil them in.
I'm not ready to give them that much love. I think they got a lot of work to do, and I think the recruits, that's why they were so hard. And it goes back to some of these kids' ego. And I'm not saying anything negative about this kid, but a lot of these big schools, and Kentucky's getting in the topics of that. When you're Alabama, and I get Michael Buckheister, a 5-star safety or a 5-star linebacker, to commit to me, I'm done with him until he gets on campus. He done gave me the thumbs up. I'm over here focusing on Christopher Hill, trying to get him to commit. I already got Buckheister in the bag. And sometimes some kids don't like that. Kentucky won him over in recruiting and then stopped recruiting because they already made the sale. Nebraska never did. And I think that's a point that we're getting to now. We saw it with DJ Jeffries in basketball. They stop recruiting them, and they start feeling left out while their other friends are getting recruited. And we could also we could both be incredibly wrong, Mike. It could be something that's not even a factor. Maybe when he went on his visit, he met a couple of guys that was going to be freshmen next year, and he hit it off with them. Maybe he came to Kentucky, and he just didn't really feel comfortable. Because if you look at it, he's going to come in next year, and if he had come to Kentucky, and everybody around him was going to be older guys, maybe he just didn't click as well. And I imagine, too, Benny Snell, very much about his business. Terry Wilson said the reason he picked Kentucky was because when he came here to recruit, after being a transfer, Benny Snell pulled him to the side and said, "You're the missing part. You're the key. We need you."
Right.
Terry Wilson stepped up to the challenge. Now, you can say what you want about Terry Wilson, but he stepped up to the challenge. Maybe Robinson showed up at Lexington, and Lynn Bolden did the same thing, said, "Man, we need you. You have to come here to win." And maybe he didn't like that. Maybe he liked the Nebraska, hey, we're rebuilding. Next year we're going to be 6-6, and that's okay. The year after we're going to be 7-5, and that's okay. As crazy as Kentucky fans are after this year and looking at next year's schedule, I'm telling you, Mike, next year will be considered, unless something crazy happens, next year, Kentucky fans are going to be disappointed if we don't win 10 wins next year.
Yeah.
So,
well, and just to add to your point here, just before we move on to the next topic here, I am on his Twitter page, and he has a good girlfriend, and it looks like she is very interested in the Nebraska schooling. It looks like she wants to become some type of engineer or something like that, and Nebraska seems to have the schooling that she wants. So we've all been young, we've all been in love, so she could very much well be that influence.
Very well could be, Mike. So moving on. So Robinson's out, take him away. Before that happened, we were ranked 30th in the country according to 24/7 Sports. Robinson then got moved up in the top 100, won Mr. Kentucky. That bumped us up one spot to 29. He is no longer on the recruiting, is counted as a recruiting victory. We fell back to 33 without him. He is arguably our number one best recruit, but we still got some other guys in the bag already. We still got some other guys considering. What's your thoughts of this class without Robinson?
Like the current rank, we're ranked 12th in the SEC right now. That is off of 24/7 Sports. I'm actually kind of excited to see that we've got some local talent. I believe there are 3 kids that are committed from the Louisville area. That Casey kid, he's a linebacker from Hallard. We actually played against him in a 7-on-7 in the summertime. And this kid is a freak athlete. You could put him at safety. You could put him at linebacker. You could put him at defensive end, and he is going to excel any which way. And like, I'm kind of excited to see him grow as a player because what we had Josh Allen. He did win the Defensive Player of the Year award this season, and I think that Casey kid can do the same exact thing as Josh Allen did as a linebacker / defensive end type of player. That is the one player I'm most excited to see.
Well, play. Mike, don't get us excited yet, Mike, because we can't have our hearts broken twice. He hasn't committed to us yet. He said tomorrow. JJ Weaver committed to us, and we got Moses a couple of weeks ago at safety, and then we got some other 3-stars. So don't get us too excited. Don't be selling us on the kid. You know, he originally committed to Oregon. And ironically, if he decommitted from Oregon, and if he picks Kentucky, it's hard for us to be mad at the kid Robinson when we're over here celebrating the victory of a kid who did the same thing. And let's be honest, historically, over the last decade and 20 years, Oregon's been upper echelons compared to what we've been bringing. So, but don't get their hopes up, Mike.
Well, I mean, I believe his top 3 schools are Oregon, Kentucky, and Louisville is up there too as well. And with Louisville finally getting their coach, they could maybe make a strong push for him as well. And if he does stay in town, I think my heart would really be broken. Like, I would much rather lose to Oregon than to the Cards any day.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll be honest with you. I think they say he's pretty strong our way. I'll be honest with you too. I think them not getting Jeff Brom. You know, I've mentioned a lot that this year and next year is probably the most important years, and not only in the Mark Stoops era, but in really Kentucky football of modern history, because we're on the cusp of greatness. We're on the cusp. And look, people's going to say, oh, you're great. We got embarrassed by Tennessee and we couldn't hang with Georgia. You got to calm down on the words great. Not everybody's going to be Tua in Alabama.
Right.
So we're on the cusp of something really beautiful. But I think we have to prove something to ourselves, to our fan base, to recruits, to high school kids, to the conference, to everybody out there that we can get it done. And I say that Jeff Brom not coming here is a short-term win because it allows for this year and maybe even next year, it allows us to go out there and really pick from the elite in the state. Now, obviously, there's going to be your Robinsons get out, and there was another kid that ended up going to Stanford. But if you can win the state against your other in-state schools, that gives you more time. Now, there's going to come. I still think there's a time Jeff Brom comes to Louisville, and I think this Setterfield kid or this guy is going to do some nice things. I think he's the guy that gets them back to 7-5 and potentially 8-4. So, but he's going to do some things to take Louisville kids out of our pockets too. So this year or this class, I think is going to be a big one for Mark Stoops, and I hope that Casey's a part of it because it's going to go a long way.
Yeah, he is. He 100% impressed me. Just walking, just the way he walked on the field, having a helmet on. He brought this aura around him that he lifted everybody around him to want to perform, just to perform at a higher class, just because of the way he carried himself. So it was just really impressive seeing, a senior, like a 17-year-old, like a like-year-old kid, do that in a high school, and I'm just excited to see if that can carry over to the college. aspect.
Absolutely. So moving on from the kids that are coming to the ones that are already here. Had a great season. Don't care what anybody says. We talked about it. They exceeded every expectation that I could have set for them. Even worst, even best case scenario, I thought 9-3 was the best case. I thought we'd lose to Georgia, lose to Texas A&M, and then drop one somewhere in between to a road conference. We did, but I'm still extremely excited. We have a chance for win number 10, first time since 1977, Penn State on New Year's Day. I think it's a 1 o'clock kickoff in the Citrus Bowl, Orlando, Florida, home of the Disney World. What's your thoughts on the game, Mike?
Well, my first thoughts are I'm hearing that Josh Allen and Benny Snell plan on playing in this game. If this is true, it makes me wonder if Snell isn't going to try to come back for a senior season. Like, I feel Josh Allen is like, I believe he's projected as a top 10 pick. If he comes back, that's kind of a not smart decision on his part, I do believe. Now, like, I don't know what is going on in his head by like any means, but if they're both playing, I think we're going to dominate this Penn State team. I just don't think it's going to be close because I don't think Penn State deserves to be there. I haven't watched a lot of their games. Like, I've seen highlights and stuff like that. But they just don't look like a solid team. So I really anticipate Kentucky's defense just manning it, just because our defense is the center point of the team. But historically, in a bowl game setting, the offenses start to go off. So I'm looking for our defense to continue being great, give up 20, maybe 25 points tops. And I would like to see our quarterback offense, the offense open up, run a little bit of hurry up, get Terry Wilson acclimated for next year, because next year he is going to be the man. He's going to have to carry the team if Snell is not there. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. But I expect Kentucky to dominate the game at the end of the day.
So I enjoy your optimism there. That is refreshing. Now, a couple of things here. Josh Allen, he's a senior. He has to go. He can't come back.
Oh, sorry. That's right.
I'm sorry. Benny Snell, I think he's gone, but I think his key factor is he wants that 107 yards to own the all-time UK history and pass Sonny Collins. So I think that's the main focus for both these two to play. Now, I actually think in the Josh Allen situation, what we're going to see is he's going to start, he's going to play, he's going to try to dominate and win that 10th game, but I think you're going to see some more rotation than normal. With Pascal back trying to work himself back in, and with some of the freshmen, with this being a bowl game, you get a month to prepare. Most of these freshmen haven't played at all, so they're still technically good under the redshirt rule. They could come out, play as much as they want against Penn State, and that is not in any doubt or concern. They can still redshirt next year, keep all their eligibility. So I think you're going to see Josh Allen play, but I don't know if you're going to see him take as many snaps. I think, to your point, Mike, anytime it's a 3rd and long or a passing situation, you're definitely going to see Josh Allen in there. But on a 1st and 10, on when they're on their own 20 and the drive's just starting, don't be surprised you don't see Josh Allen sitting out a little bit, getting rest. Now, also, depending on how the game goes, if the game's decided one way or the other in the second half, don't expect to see him out there. Benny Snell and the offense, on the other hand, I think it all depends on the first half. If they come out and Benny Snell takes it for an 80-yard run, boom, and he's only 27 yards away from that record, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't let Terry Wilson just sling it all over the place. If they come out, the weather might be rainy or whatever it is, and if it's a physical game and they're relying on Benny, I think they might give Benny a lot of carries. If they jump out and they're behind early and they're just loading the box and Benny can't get going, I think you'll see even less of Benny. I think both these guys are gone. Well, I know Josh Allen's gone, but I think Benny's gone too. But I think they're going to do their best to find the perfect balance of recording any kind of numerical stat they want, getting that 10th win, but also preserving their future. So I think, Benny Snell might end up with 15 carries. Josh Allen might play opposed to playing the typical 60 snaps. He might play 35, 40 snaps. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. Now, I'm concerned about Penn State's quarterback. He's a veteran guy. We've struggled against veteran quarterbacks. He can make plays with his arms and his feet. At times,
Right.
It's appeared as if we struggled to be flexible in stopping both. Either you're a pocket quarterback and we're going to come carry you up, or you're a scrambling quarterback and we want you to throw. I saw some concerning things against Louisville. I know a lot of passion was involved and it looked like they were trying to knock heads off, but they opened up a lot of running lanes to Malik Cunningham. That was very concerning to me. So I think Purdue can easily get what it wants to do if we're not careful. But the main thing to me is you get a month's practice. I just want to come out and see a good showing. Of course, I want to win. Of course, I want win number 10. But this is also about building for that future. I want to see some of the younger guys. I want to see a lot of Chris Oates, who's going to be a big voice, him and Cash Daniels coming in next year. I'm drawing a blank on the kid's name, the safety number 23 and Robinson number 9. I want to see those guys get a lot of play because those are our future. So I want to see those guys come in and make a difference.
We've kind of alluded to this on other shows. Winning a bowl game, winning that 10th game on the season makes recruiting that much easier in the next years. So this game for us is a big win because when you have 10 wins on a season, coming to a school that has 10 wins is so much easier than going to a school that has 7 wins or 6 wins.
I mean, you give us Casey tomorrow, give us another quality pickup mid-December, and then get us a nice bowl win on January 1st, and we're saying Wandale who? We're moved on, and 2019 looks so bright. And the key thing is, and with these kids, now obviously it's important to win on Saturday in the season, but I think it's equally as important to have a solid summer. If Kentucky wins that 10th win and they can beat a 12th ranked Penn State, what that does for Kentucky is in the summertime when these kids are at camp, when these kids are at these 7-on-7s, when they're at these elite tryouts with these position camps, they're talking to each other. And it doesn't really matter what Kentucky does next year as much as it matters what we do on this game to a point of the importance of the summer. Because next year on Saturdays it matters, but Monday through Friday it doesn't. The summer, if we can get some good traction this summer, and these kids are at these camps and they're man, did you see Kentucky doing some things? You see Kentucky getting 10 wins? You turn on, that way too early top 25, and you see a Kentucky team ranked in that top 20, that's going to be some hype that'll help us out in the long run. So these next 2 seasons, this next year and a half, I think is super important for Kentucky.
Yeah, that's good.
So moving on, shutting down the field, college football season's coming to a close. We've got a great bowl season coming up. But more importantly, college basketball is heating up. Mike, I wish we was on ESPN, my friend, because we hit the nail on the head last show. We broke down. No, you guys, me and you, buddy. It was nobody else. We was in here spitting this sick game. It was me and you that called that I think this Monmouth game was going to be a blowout. From tip-off to final buzzer, Monmouth was going to be a thing of beauty. And then we warned fans, don't get caught in the mystic of UNC Greensboro sounding like a regional directional school. They're a good team. They're going to upset somebody in March, and they almost upset us in December. But they did. We got the win. Finished. We're still, I think, what are we on? We're up to 7-1?
7-1.
What's your thoughts on the final 2 games that we saw? The games that we so elegantly picked right.
Well, I'm going to kind of skim over that first game just because it was such a dominating game. It is hard to really justify that because the Monmouth team, they're just not very good. They are undersized. They're underclassed. We outpowered them, out athleticized them. Now getting to UNC Greensboro here, just like what you alluded to, this team is a solid team. I believe they had 7 seniors on that team. These guys have been playing together for 4 or 5 years. They are a nice, solid team. My takeaway from that game is that we still have room to grow, but as a Kentucky team, we are starting to figure out who our 7, 8 guys are. We are starting to figure out that rotation. We are starting to come together as a team, and it is after this all comes together and it gels, it's going to be a scary, fun team to watch. But we kind of have this weak mind. Like we have never been challenged since now, and we are trying to learn how to face adversity as a team. As you know, hey, we are not the best player in the gym at like all times. So that's my takeaway, is like we are going to be a strong team, but we still need to get stronger in the head game.
Yeah, you got some points there, Mike. I mean, that Monmouth game, I mean, when we scheduled them, they were a decent tournament team. They just dropped off. They were 0-7 coming in. They didn't stand a shot to begin with. The Greenboro team, they were nice. We said they was going to be. They had some veterans. They had the kid Lonzo. He was scoring from everywhere. Luckily, they finally put Higgins on him and seemed to put that fire out. I think Cal is coming together, and he's going to find one or two things. He's either going to say, I'm going to find 6 to 7 guys who are going to give me their all, or if you guys listen, I can play about 9 of you, maybe even 10 if Jamal Baker ever gets back, but you got to do your role. Like Ashton Higgins, for example. I thought he played really good playing defense against the guy they called the magician. He could score from anywhere. I thought when they put Higgins on him, it was almost done for. But Higgins has to know that's his role. Higgins can't say, okay, I got the ball, let me shoot this 3, because you find yourself out of the game and we're worse defensively for it. Like John Calipari, I think, is working to send the message that says we can be 9 deep. We can play 10. We're not going to platoon. We're not going to do nothing silly. But we can play everybody. But you got to know your role, and you got to do your job. And when your minutes, like, because Quade Green only played like 6 or 7 minutes, you got to know that if you're playing, and he made some pretty big shots. I'll give him that. You got to know that, hey, tonight's your night to play 6 minutes. Give me some good shots. But tomorrow night, that's your night to play 20 minutes. I need you to give me a more complete game. Ashton Higgins, your job tonight is to smother their best player. Tomorrow night, they might be a bigger team, more foul prone. Your job is to get to the basket. Cal, but that's going to take everybody's work, from Cal all the way down to every one of these last players, all the way to Johnny David. Now, you talked about they need just a little bit more, and they're going to get that test. Saturday, Seton Hall, Madison Square Garden. I believe it's a noon tip-off. I think it's called the City Hoops Classic.
Yep.
They get a Seton Hall team, 2 7-footers. This doesn't mean anything, but they lost to Louisville, which means I don't want to lose to them, because Louisville fans for the next month will use a transitive property. If Team A beat Team B, then Team B beat Team C, then A is better than C, and I don't want that. Got a Seton Hall team. What's your predictions? What you got on your mind for this game?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Seton Hall is from New York or New Jersey.
Yeah, they're from New York.
Yeah, so this is kind of a home game for them, but the Kentucky crowd normally travels well to these type of events. I watched Seton Hall play last month, and they have this kid by the name of Powell. I believe his first name is Michael Powell or something, but his last name is Powell. In the month of November, he had a game of 30 points, a game of 24 points, and a game of 40 points. This kid is the one that we have to stop. We need to do the Higgins needs to smother him all game and just keep him locked down. This Miles Powell kid is the one that gets Seton Hall in the groove. He is passing the ball to those big old 7-foot guys. They aren't very good. from the game I saw that they're just a big body that happened to be somewhat athletic. But this Miles Powell kid, he is the one that needs to stop. My prediction of the game is I think we're going to struggle with the first 10 to 12 minutes of the game. Being a noon tip-off on a Saturday, it is hard to get your mind right for that early game, especially on a Saturday and a big stage. So they're going to struggle the first 10 to 12 minutes. They're in that last 7 minutes of the first half, they're going to find that gear. Second half, I think they're going to really put the pedal to the metal, stretch it out to a 12 to 14 point win.
So I would be all right if that happened. To your point about the noon tip-off, I'm not too concerned when these happen at these neutral site games because typically it's in New York. Cal probably have them out practicing, sightseeing, everything from 7 a.m. I think when noon rolls around, they'll be fine. If it was at Rupp Arena, I'd be a little bit more worried because they get to sleep in their own bed. They're probably lounging around the locker room until 11:30.
Right.
So it might be a little bit more difficult. But who's to tell with kids these days? To your point, I don't know as much about Seton Hall, but I did watch the Louisville game, and I looked at some of their numbers. They have that number 13, and that might be the Powell kid that you're alluding to. I think he's going to be a scorer, so I'm right there. I'm going to echo everything you said. I think Ashton Hagans needs to be on him like crazy. Now, I look at these 7-footers. Now, I saw a little bit more finesse in these 7-footers. I thought the big one, I can't remember his name. He had a more difficult name. He was a great free throw shooter. Then they had another 7-footer who was really nice around the basket, had a decent touch, felt like could put some points up. We're going to need Nick Richards and P.J. Washington to really play good. Now, I'm not worried about Reed Travis. He's more your offensive guy. He's the guy that's going to get you some stable buckets, make some stable plays. He's going to be a solid guy. But I need more. I need Nick Richards and Nick Richards key because I think he's going to be out there with those 7-footers and those two tall trees. He's going to be out there, but he has to be careful because if you make stupid plays and they score, it's not going to look good. If he gets too aggressive and gets in foul trouble, if they go to the free throw line, that's going to equal 3 points. I think this is going to be a neck-and-neck game. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into half trailing. I do think this is going to be our first win of the season less than 10 points. Every game we've won, aside from the Duke massacre of 34 points, every game that we've won has been by double digits. I think this is going to be the first one. I think it's going to be 86-80, 78 or 78-72 type game. I don't think they're as good as us. I definitely don't think they're better than us. I think it's just one of those games that catches you off guard. We got Utah, North Carolina, Louisville coming. This is Camp Cal. You're playing a football schedule. You're literally only playing on Saturday for the next 5 games. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a tough one because Seton Hall is one of those gritty Big East teams, those ones that everybody can just score around the basket. A guy who has ugly form is going to hit a big three. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to pull away. I think there might even be a 4 or 5 minute stretch where we go on a run and get a 9-10 point lead. But I also think this is a young team versus a gritty team, and that gritty team is going to find their way back. But I do have us winning. I'm going to go on record and go 86-80.
So just kind of add to like what you're saying here, like I do think we're going to have a 5 to 7 minute stretch in the game where we look like a great championship caliber team, but we are also going to have that 3 or 4 minute span where we hit one or two shots. That is going to be the time of the game where that head game that I spoke about earlier. That is when we need to see if our heads can not overthink what's happening. We just need to play and just kind of power through that 3 or 4 minute span when like things are just not going our way. We just need to figure it out. Don't over panic. Do not stress, because then we're gonna have that 7 minute stretch where we're hitting every shot.
All right, Mike. So yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for the game. I want to do a thing, and this might get redundant. It might get boring. But every week I would like to incorporate a final segment for our basketball team to basically check the temperature with you, Mike. I just want and it's going to be quick. I'm going to go through the remainder of the season, and I want you to give me a win or a loss on every game.
Gotcha.
And what we're going to do is each week we're going to do this, and we're going to see if it differs. If you think we're going to lose 4 games, if you think there's 4 more losses in our future this week, but we come out and play horrible against Seton Hall, and then that number goes to 6, or we come out and win by 50, and maybe somebody gets hurt or something happens on another program, and then you're like, okay, maybe this is a 2-loss team. I'm going to call it a heat check. You know, the basketball, they run down, they jack up a crazy shot after they've hit a couple threes. So we're going to call it the heat check, Mike. Real quick. Don't have to put any words, win or loss, going down the record. I've already got a W for you on Seton Hall. Let's just pick up next. December 15th, Utah.
I'm going to have to go with a win on that one.
North Carolina, neutral site.
Ooh. That's a Monday game, isn't
Saturday.
it?
Saturday.
It is a Saturday game? What time's that game?
Come on now, Mike. It's 5:15.
5:15. You know what? I got to go Carolina.
Okay, Carolina. Louisville on the 29th.
I just think their experience
will
outweigh
give me some
our
heat.
youth.
We'll talk about it when December 22nd rolls around, but give me some heat. December 29th, we got Louisville at Louisville.
Don't even count.
All right. Bama on the road.
Bama on the road. First SEC game, huh? I'm going to have to go with Kentucky.
All right, loving it. Texas A&M at home. Vandy at home. Georgia on the road.
Ooh. Cats.
Auburn on the road.
I'm going to have to go with Auburn.
Mississippi State at home. Kansas at home.
Ooh. As of right now, I'm going to have to go with KU on that one. As much as that hurts.
Does it really hurt you, Mike? Okay, you hate them. I'll give it to you.
I hate KU.
All right. Vanderbilt down in Nash, Vegas.
Cats.
Florida on the road.
Ooh, Cats.
South Carolina at home.
Cats.
Mississippi State in Stark, Vegas.
I have to go with Cats on that one as well.
LSU at Rupp Arena.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, didn't LSU beat us last year at home?
I don't think so. I think it was a close one. I remember us having a close game. Now, we may have played them twice, but I think one of them we pulled out in like a close game. Yeah.
I think that's going to be a trap game for us. I'm going to have to go with
LSU.
LSU.
In the Big Rub. That's a hurtful one. Tennessee.
It is.
Tennessee at home.
You know, I'm going to have to go with the Cats on
that one. Cats probably getting the upset. Missouri on the road.
It is. Columbia is always hard to play, but give me the Cats.
Auburn at home. Arkansas at home.
Cats.
Tennessee on the road.
I'm going to have to go with Tennessee again.
Ole Miss on the road.
You know, I think this is the part of the season where we kind of hit that slide like we did like this last year and lose 3 SEC games in a row. I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
And Florida at home.
And I'm going to have to go to Cats. I think we're
all right, back. Mike. Well, as of right now, as of December 5th, you heard it here first. Michael Buckheister has the Cats going 25-6 at the end of the season. You kind of slow me down there a little bit, Mike, but you'll catch up as the season goes on. But that's going to be it, Mike. We had a great show. We talked Kentucky football. You got Kentucky basketball in there. And you heard Mike Buckheister's hot takes on the season. What more could you ask for? Mike, tell them where they can listen to the show if they missed it.
Guys, we are everywhere. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon. This will be up on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe, follow us, give us a ranking, like it, share it with a few friends. Help us out.
What more could you ask for? Thank you for joining us. Hopefully next time we'll get Chris Hill back from his hiatus or his bad cell phone, whatever's going on here. Thank you for joining on December 5th, Wednesday night's episode of Big Blue Breakdown.
Team iPhone.